All right, guys, we are live. We are on the Ginn YouTube channel. And today we are talking about a little known secret. It's not really a secret. I always tell you guys in wholesaling, there are no secrets on how to get free inbound leads so you guys can get as many chances at a wholesale deal. Now, if you are short on getting your first wholesale deal or you don't have one yet, please pay attention to today. This is something I actually found out by accident. And then once I actually figured out how to do it, I take you step by step on how to pull the arrest records. And a lot of you going like, what are you crazy, Rick? I don't want to do arrest records. Listen, we need motivated sellers. And what better motivation than in the arrest records? Yes, I have done a lot of deals through the arrest records. To be full disclosure, I did them by accident at first. And just like probates, I figured out how to do them on purpose. And what I want to do is share in today's live stream is I'm going to show you the step-by-step method on how to do it. It's actually really simple. And I'm going to show you what you have to actually watch out for. I'm going to tell you the pros. I'm going to tell you the cons. And we have not stopped using this technique since I figured out the arrest records. And here's the really cool part. It is much simpler than probates. It is much simpler than most of your government lists. And my favorite part is it's 100% free. So if you don't do this and you jump on a live with me and say, Rick, oh, I'm struggling to get a deal, is the first thing I usually ask people, are you doing the arrest record? So we'll go into it. It's honestly one of the easiest ways you can do it. There's some really cool things about it. There's some things you need to know about it. And I'm going to walk you through my 21 years experience and how I do the arrest record. So as usual, we're on here live. I do these Monday night live streams so I can talk to more of you. So first thing to understand is on the column, probably actually on this side, you're going to have the comments. Introduce yourself. And then that would be great. And that's what I want you to do. And guys, this is a great place to network with it. Now, I'm looking for like-minded people. If you're here to waste people's time and stuff like that, it doesn't work out in here. So I do this 100% for free. All I ask in return is you be truthful, you be honest, and I can actually help you out. So in the comments, introduce yourself. I love it because I kind of get to know you guys. And I'm going to show you guys at the end of the live stream how you connect with me and Zach on a much more personal basis. But I'm here to concentrate on you guys 100% and help you with your inbound leads. Now, the second note, if you want to do a live, all you have to do is register with the link that's pinned in the top of the comment under Rick Ginn, and I will connect with you. And you can either share your face, you don't have to. But guys, bring some information if you want to work on a deal. If you've never done a deal before, but don't come on in here and complain because it doesn't work with me. I just don't do that. So I love to see your face if you have it on there, but if not, it's not a requirement. So that is about it. So let me double check here. So guys, make sure while we're doing this, make sure you smash that like button. It helps other people just like you find this channel. And please make sure you subscribe to this channel. The most important part, why? Because I drop content on the Rick Ginn channel. I don't drop anywhere else. And you guys know I've been doing this for 21 years. It's hard to even say that out loud. I remember like it was yesterday, the day I started out in wholesaling. And at the time, I had no idea how to change my life, but I'm here to tell you today, the changes are profound. And you can see it myself. You can see it in my son. And if you've got anybody you guys that got to know me, you'll see it in my family, my friends, and everybody I do business with. So I have had the privilege of doing so many JV deals with people from this live stream. You guys know we do this one. I have my son's live stream, Zach Ginn, and then we also collaborate on the Flip with Rick channel. And what you guys like most about it is we just tell you how to do wholesaling without any of the filters. You know, those financial filters every guru wants you to pay. I think wholesaling should be very simple. I believe if you found my channel, you found my son's, or through Flip with Rick, that you just want to figure out how can I get my first deal and then how can I get to my first 100 grand? We lay the whole thing out free for you. You guys know where to go. I'm going to put it up here. If you've never done this before and you want to get started in wholesaling, go over to freewholesaling.com. The really cool part is there's 27 years of combined experience between me and my son, Zach, and we teach you everything you need to know about wholesaling. I don't hold back one thing. And honestly, I've done this for 3 years. I've always given the house away. You know why? Because the more people I can help out means I create a bigger legacy for my family's name, the Ginn name. And honestly, you somewhere down the road will give back to me by doing deals with me, partnering with me, meet up with me, whatever you want to do. But how nice is it when you are freed from having to pay these ridiculous fees up front, only to find out it's not half the product they deliver to you? That's the difference between me and most of the others, but it's up to you guys. Either subscribe to Rick Ginn or you don't. I don't care. That's why I do this channel, because I can talk freely with my mind. So let's talk about inbound leads. Go over to freewholesaling.com. It's all on there for you. And we will go from there. So let me pull up my little slides here. So we're talking about free inbound leads. So I always look, when you're looking to do leads in wholesaling, there's two things you should always look for first. Number one, you've got to make sure they are highly motivated leads. If the leads are not motivated, it is a pain in the butt. Let me give you an example. So many gurus will point you to the MLS right now. Why? Because it's easy. It's super easy up front. The names are on there. The offer price, the pictures, the phone number. You don't have to skip trace. You don't have to look up any public records. You just pick up the phone. But after thousands and thousands of dials, you soon realize you're not dealing with motivated sellers. And honestly, after 3 months go by, which is past their cancellation policy, you are stuck with that giant course fee you paid. And then you have no leads. And then you got to go out and find someone like myself or Zach to actually give you the truth on how to find a wholesale deal with little to no money. And I'm going to here to tell you, it is extremely doable. I've done it. Zach's done it. Tens of thousands of people have done it on this channel with freewholesaling.com, and you're no different. Does it mean it's easy? Absolutely not. But you can't complain about it if you're not going to do the simple stuff up front. So number one, you have to look for motivated sellers. If you are not looking for motivated sellers, i.e., if you're going to MLS and you're doing stuff on like public records that everybody else can see or on market properties, you are beating your head against the wall. I'm not saying it doesn't work, but for a newbie, your odds of success are almost like nil to zero. So Rick, why do they offer stuff like this? Why? Because it just sells. It sounds easy. And honestly, on paper, it sounds perfect. But the practicality and the theory of doing it, if these people were true wholesalers, they understand that you have to locate motivated sellers and you need off-market properties. Those are the two things that are non-negotiable. And if I promise you this, if you do not qualify your wholesale with those two items, you are going to be in trouble. Why? Because you're just going to waste time. And there's nothing worse than wasting time. Let me give you an example. If you ever bought like something, and I'm not here to knock against Amazon, but when you look at that pretty picture of an Amazon thing and go, oh my God, that thing, so that mug fits the exactly what I was looking for. It was like 50% cheaper than the higher quality one. It looked good. And then you get it, and the mug's like chipping in your hand as you put hot coffee in it, and it doesn't feel right, and it starts cracking. And guess what? You just paid $10 for a mug. You should have just paid $15 and got the right mug, but now you got to go buy the $15 mug, so it cost you $25 for one mug. You're better off just buying the right quality up front. And that's the same thing with wholesaling, is if it sounds too good to be true. Here's another example. I see it today, like my inbox is full of it. AI is now not only going to find me wholesale deals, it's going to reach out and contact the sellers, and it's going to negotiate the whole thing. And now it's telling me it's going to close it and find my cash buyer, all while I get to sit on the beach and sip my margaritas. Guys, this stuff is ridiculous. There should be a law against how they pitch wholesale courses. If it sounds too good to be true up front, like the newest one out there right now is, I'll teach you how to sell your wholesale deals to retail. There's just a few pieces of paperwork you need to sign, but it all works really good. Now, the paperwork is correct. I've checked it out. But to teach a newbie how to sell a wholesale deal to a retailer, the reality is you're going to have to lie to the bank funding the deal. And at some point, you are going to be liable if it ever blows up in your face and they find out about it. So remember, whenever you're selling a retail property with a bank lending, they need full disclosure of the entire transaction. I don't care what guru, what teacher, coach tells you, hey, sign this paperwork and it's all legal. Now, just because you can legally do it in paperwork doesn't mean you are not at risk of being sued for fraud. So I'm telling you right now, if it sounds too good to be true, be very careful of the waters you're treading on, because it usually is. So the two qualifying things for all wholesale deals, and make sure anybody you work with understands this. You've got to find the highest signs of motivation, and you've got to just find these deals with the path of least resistance. So now that we know, and the path of, I'm sorry, that's the third qualifier. Number one, they have to be highly motivated. Number two, you want them to be off market. If you don't have those two things, it doesn't matter what you do. The third thing is, I'll add on to it, is you might as well take the ones that are the easiest right off the bat. And that's what we're talking about today. So if you've never done arrest records, this is going to be a good one. Just give me like 20 to 30 minutes. Let me explain it to you. And then what we'll do is we'll jump on the lives and we'll go from there. So do me a favor. I got people on lives. I need to kind of see your faces on it, because it seems very suspect that I have 3 lives with the exact same logo. So I assume if someone doesn't step on the lives and start showing their face, I'm going to make it open to the next person. So I have 3 people waiting for the mastermind, which is odd on my channel right off the bat. Please show your faces. Otherwise, I'm not going to let you on, because you all have the exact same logo, which doesn't make sense to me. So guys, trying to be deceitful with me is not going to help you out. And I don't want to work with people like that. So keep that in mind. So let's jump over to the arrest records, guys. Awesome. So arrest records. Yes. They're the freest inbound leads you want to get. Now, you can determine if you want them inbound or outbound. It doesn't matter. So the difference between, listen, the same person trying to put their name all across the board and fill it up, it's not going to work. So please stop doing it. You're wasting your time. And I promise you, I will cut the stream off if you keep doing stuff like this. So I know exactly what you're doing. Just stop. You're wasting your time. So arrest records can be inbound, outbound, depending on how you attack them. So why do I like arrest records? I already told you. It is the absolute highest motivation. Think about this. If you're going to jail and you own a piece of real estate and you're going to go away for a decent amount of time, 2 years or more on average, what are you going to do with the piece of real estate? So the odds are, if you leave it vacant, somebody still needs to take care of the grass. They got to pay the utilities. You got to pay the insurance, and you got to pay the mortgage. Most people cannot handle that. Now, here's the challenge that you have to deal with arrest records. The motivation's through the roof, because you know the exact time they've got to get the property sold by. And that deadline of their court date or their sentencing date or their jail date is the reason why you will get probably one of the best deals on it. Now, keep in mind, they don't have time for a realtor, and they definitely don't have time to wait for a family member to bail them out, because if a family member is going to bail them out, they probably already did that and burnt that bridge posting bond. So bonds, when they get up with the money to get them out of jail. Now, here's the downside. You ready? The biggest downside is arrest records have a lot of drama. So not a lot of people believe their story or will listen to their story. Here's the trade-off. When it comes to arrest records, you actually have to listen to their story. It's very dramatic. There's a lot of drama filled, and there's always some sort of crazy girlfriend or ex-lover or my kid did this, my dad did that, my mom never treated me right. You just have to endure it. That's all I'm going to tell you. I have never done an arrest record that did not have a lot of drama. Now, it doesn't mean you have to take everybody. So a lot of you are probably like, well, what type of arrest records do we need to do? I'm going to get into that. So I'm going to give you one big disclosure you have to understand before we do arrest records. I have one basic rule. And if you break this rule, I promise you it's the end of your wholesaling. You ready? You cannot do creative financing with arrest records. Why? I've watched these. You have 100% nightmare probability. Why? Think about this. Somebody gets arrested, they're found guilty, they go to jail for 3 years. They meet with someone like you and they go, "Hey, can you buy my house?" Awesome. Say you didn't come to terms and you came up with a creative solution, probably like a subject to. You give them X amount of dollars up front, you take over the payment, the house is yours, right? You even deed it over in your name or your company. Awesome. You got a great deal. You're on cloud nine. It's great. The guy gets out of jail or the gal gets out of jail, and guess what? They go straight back to that house, and in their mind, they own it. And you have to deal with the consequences. And if you had a renter in there or a owner occupied in there, it's going to be really bad. And I've watched this over and over with friends through the business, and they all came to the final conclusion saying, don't ever do a creative financing like a subject to or anything like that on an arrest record, because it never mentally sticks into them. And they think that's just a temporary rental and they're going to come back and want their property. And even if they did agree to the terms, they always come back 100% of the time. Guys, just hear me out. When it comes to creative financing, do not do it when it comes to arrest records. It doesn't work. It's going to blow up in your face. And I'm telling you up front, they love creative financing because they get money up front and they believe in the back of their mind they're getting their house back. So I want you to avoid that pitfall. Repeat after me. No creative financing when it comes to the arrest records. Now, let's talk about this. Why does nobody ever talk about the arrest records outside of like really me and Zach? The reason is it's not a super sexy way to get deals. And honestly, it's very simplistic. So let's talk about how do we get the arrest record. So number one, you have to search the online law enforcement. How do I do that? This is so much simpler than probates and code violations and tax delinquencies, all the other lists we tell you to go out there and earn. This is simply a search. So I always start from a county search. So whatever county you're in, I don't care if you got pulled over by the popo or not, but you all know if you have a sheriff in your county, or if you're in a local city, you have a local police department. And you got to decide. So now you might have both. Okay. This has nothing to do with the highway patrol. So you want to search your online. So if I lived, so where I live is basically in St. Lucie County, is they have a St. Lucie County sheriff and they have a Port St. Lucie police department. So the first one I like to search, which is usually the bigger of the two, is the sheriff's office. So depending on how your area runs, either the sheriff takes over for the county and they run that entire county, or you have cities that you take over their policing, and you can. What I'm trying to get at is you can use both. They both have to follow the exact same law. It just depends on who's responsible for it. So the first thing you have to understand is, are you operating with a sheriff's office or are you operating with a local PD? There is no rhyme or reason which one's better. Usually the sheriffs are much bigger, so they'll have a bigger database. So it's much more, in my opinion, it's much more convenient to use the sheriff. So hopefully you're in an area where the sheriff takes over everything. But a lot of times cities take it over. Don't ask me why. I don't know how people do any of this stuff, but it all comes down to money. So make sure you're looking at multiple police departments when you're pulling arrest records. Now, this is all from the state and below. I don't do any of the federal stuff. I have no idea how to do it. And honestly, that's not how this works. So the local county sheriff's office, and then you want to do your local police department. So As I said, I give an example of the St. Lucie County Sheriff's Office and then the St. Lucie Police Department. Those are the two main ones I draw from. Now, when you get small cities, there's tons of them around you, but the problem is they don't have a huge database of arrest records, and it can get tedious if you're working with 5 or 6 different police departments like I do, but that is the name of the game. And remember, each sheriff's office is different. So if you have a sheriff in this county and then there's a sheriff in this county, they're completely different law enforcement sites you go to. Now, whenever somebody gets arrested, you get the local in there. It is simple. It throws it out there. It's all out there and it's public record. So if you've ever been arrested, thank the Lord I haven't been, and I should have been when I was younger because I did stupid things, is it's very public. So first thing, I could care less what the mugshot looks like. If you guys are looking at mugshots and deciding who you're going to call, you're literally wasting your time because you're trying to judge a book by its cover and it doesn't work that way. So understanding you just want to get the raw records. Now, let's get down to the criteria of the arrest records. And it's important you understand this. Now, the only reason I know this is because I've done this so long and I know the typical case that comes up. Now, I've had some crazy people reach out to me that have been arrested to try to sell me their home. I do not pass judgment on people when they're arrested if I want to buy their home. Just like in probates, I do not hold people accountable for whatever family issues they have. And by the way, if you do wholesaling long enough, you'll know exactly what I mean. People have stories. And remember, our job is to hear people out, help the seller facilitate the transaction, and take over the property. And either we keep it for ourselves or we sell it to a cash buyer via assignment contract. You cannot get into the judgment zone because I don't do that. I just know that the arrest records gives me an opportunity to tickle a motivated seller to have the ability to buy their house. And you have to stay in that zone. I've had the craziest stuff come up. Now, what I'm going to do is give you the criteria of what you need to ask for when getting this arrest record. So simply pull up that site. Now, in the beginning, you can call and get help to get the classification of the arrest records. Now, the law states that arrests have to be posted online unless it's a sensitive case. That is the exception, not the rule. So it's really not that hard to find this information. So if you're complaining about inbound leads and you're not going to go pull your local arrest records and you tell me you've done everything you can, I'm going to call you to the table on it. So the first criteria, just ask for the arrest records for the last 30 days. Hopefully you can pull it online and you don't even have to make this stupid phone call. But if you're in one of those counties where you have to make the call or you can't figure out how to navigate the website, which I've had that happen multiple times to me, call and ask for help. Remember, the people that work in these departments, they navigate these websites every day, so they know exactly how it works. And so you might as well go ahead and utilize their knowledge. So they're the gatekeepers. You might as well just go ahead and use it. So if you're a guy, stop being embarrassed and just pick up the phone and call them. It ain't going to kill you. And honestly, it's going to save you a ton of time and aggravation. And that's the first thing that I'm going to do when I do it. Now, what do you need to know? Oh my God, this is a loaded question. So what's up, guys? Hey, make sure you guys introduce yourself in the comments because I'm about to jump over there and spend some time in there. So what do you need to know? And the reality is you just need to know a couple of things. You need to know the arrest records, get the last 30 days. And you need to reach out and contact and find out if there's motivation. The rest of the stuff between you and me, it's all drama. Now, I'm going to fill you on some of the drama details to get rid of your curiosity because I know you guys thinking like, what am I into when I deal with somebody when it comes to the arrest records? Number one, first of all, don't ever go to a property or somewhere that makes you feel uncomfortable. Definitely don't go at nighttime. And if you're a lady, I prefer you bring a male with you. That's just common sense. That has nothing to do with wholesaling. It is common sense. So once you understand that, then you can avoid some of the pitfalls. And by the way, realtors have to deal with this stuff all the time. People set you up for crazy things, but for the most part, The really cool thing about arrest record, you can verify their story online after you hang up with them. So it's hard for them to punk you creating a fake arrest record to set you up for something horrific. So when it comes to the arrest records, they really can't make this stuff up. Either they did it, either they were arrested and they have a pending issue, and it's actually very simple to verify online. Now, what was I going to tell you here? I want you to understand this. Don't freak out when I put this one up there, but it's the truth. You can go to jail visits to do paperwork. I know a lot of you go, oh, I'll do the e-sign, I'll do the docu-sign. Occasionally it works, but a lot of times we have to go to the prison to get paperwork signed. Now, during COVID, it was an absolute nightmare. One of the worst experiences I've ever been through in my life. The challenge is sometimes if you're the owner of the company, you have an LLC, or you wrote the contract in your name, you have to be the one that shows up. You can't send an employee. And this has happened to me so many times. I'm like, okay, I'll do it. It takes a lot of time. You got to set the appointment. You got to go through a metal detector. You get heavily patted down and you are eyeballed the entire way. And they run you through a database to make sure you're not a risk to anybody else in the jail. So, but once you get there, it's no big deal. They're actually normal people. And the only difference is they got caught doing something and you're just trying to help them out. So don't freak out if you got to go to the jail. It is not the end of the world. Doing it outside of COVID is much better. During COVID, it was a nightmare. So sometimes you have to go get what we call that wet signature, meaning the only way you can do it is go visit them. And a lot of times you go, well, I'm going to send my assistant. I'm going to send you can't send your VA, but like somebody to help you out. You can't. If your name's on that contract, you signed it, you have to go with them. They do not like third parties showing up. And by the way, it's very tough to get a notary inside the jail. You really got to make special accommodations for it. So don't freak out about going to the jail. It's not the big of the deal. I used to have like heart palpitations over there. It's actually very interesting and you'll learn a lot. So look at it as I'm not going to say a fun experience, but it's part of the business. It's not a big deal. And if you're doing that, it means you're very close to getting a deal signed. So that's good to go. Now, let's talk about the type of arrest. This is very simple. Don't screw this up. Okay. Once again, I am not here, nor are you here to make judgments on why people got arrested. Honestly, it's kind of none of my business. Now, you ready for this? I've actually written a contract for somebody on death row. And I got to be honest with you, it freaked me out. Now, I did the whole thing virtually. It never worked out because the man was a psychopath for an obvious reason, but I didn't pass judgment for it because it's none of my business. Now, I was never going to meet this person in a private anywhere because obviously, who wants to meet someone who was put on death row because some bad things happened with that one? But I'm here to tell you is you can't make judgment on what people are arrested for. You're wasting your time. Once they're in jail, they're the safe as they humanly can be for us. So that is the time we deal with them. Before that, these people are walking all amongst you and you don't even know it. Heck, you could be at dinner and have an axe murderer sitting right next to you and you would never even know. So don't freak out about that. Now, what I'm going to do is run through you the most common types of arrests we deal with of people who sell their house. Don't judge them. It doesn't matter. The reason I tell you is you can keep your eyes out for it. So you know you're on the track record when you're chasing down inbound leads for arrest records. So the first and foremost, this isn't a wild guess. It's mostly DUIs. Now, you're thinking, Rick, you're telling me a DUI, people go to jail. Listen, the first time you get a scotch-free, by the way, I've never been arrested for DUI. I've bought a lot of houses of people in DUIs. The second or third time you go to you go to jail for 1 year because they're trying to teach a lesson. Let's face it, we don't want people out there drinking and driving and killing people. It happens every day, unfortunately. So I agree with the law and how this set up. Once you get your third or fourth offense, if you get past like blowing in the breathalyzer to start your car, you got to ride a bike to work for a year, you got to get special permits, and you get all that back and you get out of jail and you get caught again, it's big time. It's usually 5 to 10 years after that per offense, and they keep stacking it up. And then they'll take your license away forever. Now, these are the most common ones I deal with all the time. A lot of these people have big time habitual problems. Once again, I don't get into people's personal lives. I just try to keep mine on course. And for somebody who doesn't drink alcohol anymore, like I get it. You see people get in messes in their lives. And I want you to understand, I don't judge people for it. But once you hear DUI, I'm just letting you know you're definitely on the right one. It is by far 80% of the most common type of house I buy when people get arrested multiple times for DUI, because it's hard to take care of the house. It's hard to pay the mortgage. It's hard to pay the utilities. It's hard to pay the insurance when you keep going to jail. And when you leave to go to jail, they know their house is going to be taken over by either family, friends, or enemies. That's why their motivation is through the roof to sell those properties. It is literally that simple. Now, coming in at a hot number 2, if you guys want to make comments, let me know. What do you think the number 2 arrest record is that we buy houses from? I'm going to wait for comments because I love this stuff. Anybody, any guess? The number 2 for arrest records for wholesalers buying their house. Anybody? Anybody? Come on. You're going to make me throw it up there. Drug offenses. It's close. I wish, you know what? I wish it was that. DV, I'm not sure. Oh yeah, okay. You're okay. Now you guys are. It's not tax evasion. Anthony's got that right. DV, I'll give them, and I'll give Dream Chaser the same one. Um, Unfortunately, we are in a world where people battering domestic is the number 2 all the time, and so I agree with it. Like my whole opinion is, if you hit a woman, you should be arrested. Sorry, I know there's 2 sides to a story, but especially if you have children, you're married to a woman. If you can't get along with her, just get out the door. Don't touch them. So usually alcohol is involved or some sort of drug or something when this happens. Once again, we're not here to pass judgment. I'm just giving you the pattern here. So when you see the pattern come up, most of these people are only abusive to their significant others or their spouses. So once again, once they're arrested, they're not a big deal to deal with. Now, just like DUIs, they usually get 1 probation, and then after that, it starts compounding. After that, they get a year, then they get 5 years, then they get 10 years type of deal. And the sweet spot is once people have to go to jail 2 years or longer, they have to come up with a solution to take care of their real estate. Most of the times they decide to sell it because it's the freeing way. And by the way, some people say, hey, Rick, what happens to the proceeds when they get money before they go to jail? They can actually, believe it or not, still operate checking accounts. They can have a power of attorney to help them, but they can still move money in and out while they're in jail. Happens all the time. So battery domestic is right on there. Once again, we're not making judgments, but when people lose constraint and control, or they have an addiction problem, you can see why this is predominant, why it comes out. If you guys ever watch Cops, it's either because someone gets a DUI or someone's being arrested for a battery. So we're going to come in at number 3, which is a hot one, which is actually, it's kind of a common sense one, but anybody wants to guess number 3, I'll put it out there. It's you have to think like, okay, why would people constantly be going to jail? Outside of stealing, we've already been over domestic. We've already been DUI. What do you think one of the most common thing is? And this is very interesting, but like it is factual. Why do I know it? Because I have enough data collected here. I'm telling you from the wholesaler side. Now, when you go to the police department, the statistics, probably theft would be up there somewhere on those. But honestly, I've never done somebody with theft on a wholesale house. Speeding. You really got to speed a lot to be caught in that. Child support's a good one. So child support, Jonathan's on something with the child support. It's not quite child support, but child support could be a product of this. And I'll tell you why. So I'm going to put it up there. You ready? Probation violations. And that means you could be arrested for everything. The court says, hey, listen, you are, if you do anything while you're arrested, while you're out on probation, you break one check in, if you get caught drinking or doing that, you go straight to jail. Like you don't get your $200. So probation violations are huge. And you can get I mean, it can be almost for anything, but when you break your probation, a lot of times you'll go to jail to 1 to 3 years because they set strict terms in the court and you broke it. And nobody trusts you, and then a lot of people go away for that. So, um, so whenever somebody's out, so a lot of people get probation on their first offense, and they have strict terms. And the crazy thing about it is, I have a friend of mine that's a probation officer, and her job is to go and check on people in the middle of the night. And they guess what night they usually go? Have a wild one, Saturday night. And they show up, and if they're not at that registered address, and if they find them either drinking or doing drugs, it's a one-way ticket straight to jail. And that creates a lot of problems, and people get court dates, and then they go, oh my God, I'm going to jail for X amount of years. What am I going to do? And so either they reach out to you or you reach out to them. We're going to talk about how to do that. And then that's how these leads go. It's actually really simple. And I'm here to tell you, I got a lot of people on here. I know you guys fight to get the government list, and the really difficult list, probates, water shutoffs, and code violations are challenging. This list, it's really not that hard. It's not that hard. And the really simple part is, once you get the property record, okay, let me go back up here. Once you go and get your search for the last 30 days, you just need to go over to truepeoplesearch.com, or you can use Batch, or you can use listrei.com, get that phone number, and then you just call. And listen, please don't say, hey, listen, I saw you just got arrested. Can I buy your house? I always act blind when I'm talking to these people. Hey, I buy houses for cash in the neighborhood. Are you open to me buying your house for cash? Because if they think they need cash, they need to get the house sold, bing, 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 it rings. It's actually, you're creating, you have the preparation. That's the opportunity. You just got to give them the grade. Is everyone going to agree? Absolutely not. But I'm telling you, these lists are not huge. I wish it was thousands of people. It's very short list. How often you pull the list? Once a week, really simple. And Monday's probably the best day to pull. Why? Because Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday is the nights everybody mostly gets arrested and does stupid things. So listen, everyone's entitled to, I don't want anyone to get arrested. I don't want to do any of this, but I'm telling you, it is a golden opportunity if you go help these people out. And I'm here to tell you, it is an often overlooked technique. So real simple, guys. You go to your local police department or your sheriff, depending on the county or the city. You ask for the last 30 days records if you got to do it by phone or in person, or you can just pull it up online. And then you pull people that got arrested. You then cross-reference to see if they own property in that given county or in the area you're in. It's just like probates. If someone's deceased and you want to pull a probate, you got to make sure they own a piece of real estate. Is it a pain in the butt? That's the only skip trace. See if they own a property record. That's it. If they don't, if you can't get that, then there's nothing to reach out to them. So how do we attack arrest records? Multiple ways to do it. So the 3 ways, actually the 4 most common ways, a cold call is always going to be your most effective because it's the fast, quick way to do it. You just have to skip trace it. The other one is you can text them. Now, I know that these are both outbound leads when you do this, but it's extremely effective. The main thing when you do the text, you have to convert them to phone as fast as possible because you got to figure out what's going on. And my other one you can do is direct mail, although they don't really open the mail a whole ton. So my favorite way to do it is reverse driving for dollars. Hands down the best way, because you get free inbound leads and you only deal with the ones that need to be dealt with. And they tend to respond a lot better to a handwritten little note. So if you don't know what reverse dragging for dollars is, go over to freewholesaling.com. I teach it in detail, but basically it's a sticky note you put on the door. You got a quick question about your house, and you put your phone number and your name on there, and they call you back. It's really that simple. So this is, in my opinion, the best way to get free inbound leads. It works very well. And I got to tell you, if you're struggling to get leads and you're not using this and you tell me you're doing everything you can, I have to call in the questions if you're being truthful with yourself. So remember, wholesaling is all up to you if you want to make it work. The question is, you have to work it. I will give you the education. Me and Zach will show you exactly what to do, but it always comes down to you guys doing that. So let me take this off here. Let's jump in the comments. Let's get talking. Now we got the boring education part out of the way. So Jacob, as I said on that, you just have to cross-reference in the counties you work in and see if they own property. Now, any of you guys have VAs, this is great stuff for VAs to do that over in the Philippines while you're sleeping. They can cross-reference these records if you have enough, but like, don't overlook it. It's really easy for yourself to do it. So, so Adrian, the most police departments arrest records are public information. They can't really hide it from you. So, um, I, so here's the reality. If you ever get arrested, it will be all over the internet. There's no way around it. How you get that information, they disseminate. It becomes privacy policies. You just got to find out. But I know in the 3 counties I deal with heavily, it's really easy information to get. Once again, find out what you need it. You have the right as a citizen to know who's being arrested. That's how you keep tabs on your community. So you shouldn't have like a long-winded explanation like we do on code violations, tax delinquencies, and probates. This one, you don't have to be as so cunning to like get the information. Why wouldn't you want to know who's being arrested in your town? This is how all the newspapers, this is how all the medias find out dirt on people. So you should have the exact same access as those because you are paying for it with what? With tax paying dollars. If you're a US tax paying citizens, you got to ask for your rights. Be nice about it. But cops usually love this part because then you can hold people accountable that are doing bad things in our society. So here's the crazy part. You want to hear something wild? Is it one of the county I live in? The police know how to use social media to embarrass people to be arrested. So when people are arrested for very embarrassing crimes, you know what I'm talking about, they go ahead and throw them on Facebook, Instagram, everything else before they even, as they're arresting them. Hey, do you believe Johnny drove up and thought he could steal from this neighborhood? Who does Johnny think he is? We're going to show Johnny how we do law enforcement in this city or county. And then they put their name out there and everything. I almost think it's like illegal, but I can't believe they do that. It just blows me away. Adrian, I don't know. Just you got to just get in the weeds with your police department. So I'm not a cop. I do have law enforcement in our family. I don't really share this with them, so I'm not going to like dig on the weeds on it. So some people are protected from it. For the most part, I know in the 3 counties that I deal with, if you got arrested, it's extremely public information. For example, well, no, I'm not even going to use that one. I'll probably get in trouble doing that one. They just throw it out there. So if the police department throws it out there, why can't you get that information? This is why you see stuff on CNN, MSNBC. The minute somebody gets arrested, it tickles a data file. And once the media gets hold of that data file, they spin it however they want. You can do the exact same thing. So you can get inbound leads so you can buy from motivated sellers for your wholesaling business. So good question so far. So let me jump up because I got way behind up here in the comments. If you guys want to jump on the lives, click the link. I got a few of you in there already. Let's see. Shabazz says, hey, Rick, I'm working with a seller who's extremely motivated, mostly because he's dying of cancer. That's terrible and has a year to live. Is this a situation that you'd walk away from? No, because this is what's called life and you have to help people out. So find out what they want and see if you can help them. And if you can't help them out, go find somebody that can help them out. And the more you can help people, the better off you're going to do in wholesaling business. But remember, if somebody is passing away from cancer, find out what their objective is and see if you can help them. And maybe that'll bring them some joy and relief. And if you can create a win-win situation for everybody involved, absolutely help it out. I have done deals like this, but I am like hyper focused on what that seller wants. And I try to find a way to achieve it that makes it work best for everyone. You got to be creative. Maybe they need to stay in the house another 6 months to a year. Maybe you can you could bring in a cash buyer to fund it. And then maybe after they passed, give them a few months and then somebody else can take over the house. But remember, dude, guys, life's so much more important than like the monies we make. The money helps out life. But if you can create a situation that will help everybody involved, just be an empathetic person. Don't be a hardcore investor when you walk in there. And I teach you guys all this technique. It's about this. The wholesaler that cares the most about their seller will win the deal. So if you really want to go with that and it works, maybe they need too much and you can't make it work, but maybe you refer a really good realtor to them and help them out. Just help people out. That's the main thing to do it. So, awesome. So I see you guys networking a lot with each other. I love some of the answers. No, poverty is not a arrestable offense. Thank God. We put child support in there. Probation violations. Jonathan hit it right off the bat. I'll give you credit for that one. Awesome. And let's see here. So Omar says, some government lists are saturated. Omar, I've been doing this 21 years. Everybody tells me every list in South Florida is saturated. Here's the difference. I do them on a consistent basis and I'm very disciplined at them. So I don't care. Saturation just means people are trying it. And the difference between trying and doing are two different tasks. Trying means you give it a shot, you get resistance, you're done. Doing it means you're going to do it no matter what it takes. Especially if you do it like 20 years plus, you get really lucky over and over. And that's the difference. Guys, the word saturation, you handcuff yourself because most saturation is in your mind. There's over 330 million people in the United States. According to that definition, just the United States is saturated. So get out of your own way and get out of your own head. Stop telling yourself everything's saturated because it's just your personal opinion. So let's see here. So Van, you're wrong on this because my data says different. A lot of people get arrested, have property, period. End of story. And by the way, there's a secret backdoor to the arrest records that I was going to share with you later. But since Van brought this up now, you have no idea. Like good people get arrested all the time. Very wealthy people get arrested. Billionaires get arrested. So to say they don't have property, most of them don't have property, is just your opinion. My numbers show otherwise. I'm here to tell you, people buy properties all the time. Properties are handed down in the family. You have no idea. Renters get arrested too. Guess what happens when renters get arrested? They get evicted. Do you see the trend here? If there is an opportunity for eviction, it means you can beat everybody else to it. If you contact that person, they're renting a property, just find out the address of the property and you have an opportunity to buy that property directly from the landlord. So you always got to look at the golden nugget in every opportunity. If you just assume everybody in arrest records owns no property, I can give you over 150 examples where I can prove you wrong on that. But if you take that attitude and you want to do it, that's fine. I don't care. There's plenty of other places to get deals. So, okay, let's jump on, do some lives in here. Who did I miss here? Ryan, you there?
Yes, sir. How you doing?
Good, man. How you doing? How's your Monday treating you?
I was just, I was doing good. I did some reverse driving for dollars. Like I usually do it Monday through Friday from like 8 to 1, waiting to get a couple callbacks.
Yeah.
I was actually trying to get the, what's it called? The eviction list, but they said I had to go through Barstow. Then I went out there and then they're saying that because it's not all, they don't have it all printed, I can't get it. It was just a big ordeal. That's why I keep going back, I'm assuming. But
So
my main
so
question.
let me just let you know on the eviction, in my opinion, it's one of the easiest lists to get because it is a lawsuit and a lawsuit has to be public. So
Yeah, I told them that it was supposed to be public records, and they're like, well, we don't keep a record of all the ones of the cases that we've already finished. So I did. I was
that's,
just like, all right. So I just got to go back, I guess, and continue
you just got
pushing
to go
at it.
back. But like guys, I want you to understand, when a landlord files for an eviction, it is a lawsuit. It is a lawsuit. And the whole premise of a lawsuit when it's entered into a county is it has to be publicly announced to the world. So how they can hide that is beyond me. It's impossible. And in the old days when I got started back in 0304, we used to go down to the courthouse and this is before everything was online. They would post all the dockets for that day. And then it was scheduled for 2 months out. And it was like this big board. You go in there. They didn't even let us take pictures. We had to write it down by hand. But I'm just telling you, evictions, that's the one you should never even have to beg for. But leave it to government officials to make that difficult. Some of the others they're tasking, and I know that. But when it comes to evictions, it is a public court case. And public court case means it's public. Anybody should be able to view the data that has some sort of access to the courthouse, either online or in person.
Yes, sir. Well, my main question was, what about when say for example, I go in and I want to talk to a person that's been arrested, and and they're getting ready to sign the paperwork. Do I have to have that contract notarized?
So it depends on what state you're in and how your title company wants you to facilitate it. That's what you got to determine. So in the state of Florida, it's not required. A lot of states, you're not required to have a notarized contract. Now, when it comes to the closing, you have to get it notarized and you have to make special arrangements. But I let the title company handle that all because there's no way you're getting a notary into that courthouse without some sort of third-party assistance because they have to be cleared, they have to be registered, and it's just a big pain in the butt. So normally we go through like notary123.com, but it's not going to work for the jails. I've tried that. So do you normally have to get your contracts notarized?
Well, I usually use DocuSign. So I just send everything through DocuSign.
Yeah. I mean, I've seen jails where they actually have access to it, but a lot of like all the websites have to be authenticated and verified through the jail. So it's a little bit challenged to get third parties in there. And then so I've done online portals where you can talk to the inmate via like a Zoom.
Yeah.
But it's extremely restrictive and they have a third party watching it at all times. So once again, I leave it to the title company. They have to facilitate strange deals all the time. All you have to do is locate motivated tellers and get other people to help you to, hey, how am I going to get him to sign? And how are we going to get a notary to get this done? And once you have an executed contract, I just leave it in the title company's hands. And yes, I've had title companies stress over this, but I'd rather them stress than me stress. I can't figure out everything. And that's the whole idea of like getting in wholesaling is if you try to figure out everything from day one, you're going to wait 5 years before you start in this business. To this date, I swear to you, Ryan, I have still stuff all the time. I go, I don't know how we're going to do it. I had one come up today. It's a very complicated deal, cross collateralization, everything like that. I go, honestly, I don't know how to do it. I go, hand it to the attorney, call him, call the title company. So we're having a meeting at 4:00 tomorrow to figure it all out. And that's how you do stuff like that. If I go, I don't know how to do it, I'm not going to do it. I just, you know what I do? I just set the appointment. I go, man, you better figure it out by this time. And if not, I reschedule it. So when I first started wholesaling, I would wait till I had the answer for everything. And it's the worst way to do this business because you'll get left in the dust. And the really cool thing is you learn as you earn while you do this. And that's the best part about wholesaling. And that's the way me and Zach teach it.
Yes, sir.
So what else you got?
And I had one more question. Like, okay, say everything, the person that's in jail, they sign the contract, we go to the whole thing, and it's time for them to get paid. How do I pay them? Like, if they're in jail and the check's written out to them, how do I get them their money?
Once again, that's all in the hands of the title company.
Oh, okay.
And by the way, somebody in jail can they rarely get checks. They will probably get a wire into their bank account that's set up. And the title company will authenticate all that and take care of it. So it's Guys, I'm here to tell you when people live in jail, they actually need money. They have to buy a lot of their stuff. A lot of you assume everything's provided for free in jail. It's not. You would be shocked. So they either have to trade labor or like any of the perks they want, they have to pay for them other than like really, really basic stuff. So they have packages where they can upgrade foods. The family helps out with stuff like that. But um, not that I really know jails. Like if somebody does corrections, they can explain it to us, but they need money. And if you're going away for like 2, 3, 5 years and say they were getting 40 or 50 grand proceeds, a lot of that money at least soothes their soul a little bit to get through, or they have something to start over with when they get out. So once again, leave it to your title company. They'll sort all that out. You'll
Okay.
never figure this stuff out. All you have to do is find the person that's arrested that owns a piece of property that actually wants to sell it. Once you do
Okay.
that, it's just a formalities of paperwork and logistics. And every now and then, my title company would go to me and go, listen, Rick, you got to go to the jail on Monday the 18th and you got to be there at 10 a.m. I go, I really don't want to do that. They go, if you don't do it, this deal's dead. I go, can somebody else go? They go, no, unfortunately, your name's on the contract. You got to go. And that's how it comes up. So like when you have to go or do something, it's the safest environment you could ever go to. Is it uncomfortable? Yeah, but it's just because you're not used to it. It's no big deal.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Awesome. Hey, thank you. I appreciate everything you've done for me. Thank you.
Okay, man. Calling back if you need anything.
Alrighty.
Okay, see you.
Yes, sir.
Jason, you there?
Yeah, good evening, Rick. How are you doing?
Good, man. How are you?
I'm well, thank you. My question for you today is took I I I took the what would you call it, the task that Zach gave me the other day, where we had to get a list of 300 different sort of leads, and I started a text message campaign on it. Unfortunately, I've been getting a lot of do not call, do not text or call this number anymore, which is all right. It's very deflating though, because I sort of I I invested in like this the REI reply tool so we could send out a bunch, but I'm not getting a lot of good responses. I have about 1,100 leads, and I'd say about 70% of them have all told me not to call them or talk to them. So I just want to ask, man. I mean, if when I'm going out driving, doing like driving for dollars,
Mm-hmm.
is there anything in particular you're looking for? Because I know sometimes I've asked someone else and they're like, if it needs at least $5,000 worth of work, it's going on my list.
Well, listen, a lot of it's just common sense. So you go out there and you look at it and go, oh my God, look at this house. Like, so it depends on what part you're in the country. So obviously, if you're in Arizona, you're not looking for overgrown grass. That's like a Florida Southeast thing.
Yeah.
But like you guys know the neighborhoods when you drive around. Like I've always been dumbfounded by people who sell courses on driving for dollars. I'm sorry. I know that sounds stupid, but it is the absolute truth. If it doesn't make sense, like why would you let a house look like that? Put it on your list. But trying to go, okay, I need 5 grand, 10 grand, 20 grand, 30 grand. It just depends on who's doing the work on which you're going to qualify. So like in Florida, we look for high grass, high weeds, because it never makes sense. Because the average cost to cut a lawn's maybe $30 in our state. So why would you let $30 go to get a $100 fine and have it rack up $50 a day? It means somebody's out of money or somebody has a bigger problem than that lawn. But that lawn will wind up being a huge headache for them down the road. So a lot of it's common sense. The other one is boarded up windows, a dead giveaway. Blue tarps, probably my favorite ones, because when you got a hole in the roof and you've been covering that hole for a year, odds are you're going to get a phone call from an investor, definitely a realtor. And that's how most people try to put their information in to make sure you get the right leads. Listen, you're never going to get it perfect. So the more the merrier. But like I've seen people where they go, wow, I drove by, there's 25 houses on this block. They put down 25 addresses. You could do that online a lot easier if you want to do that. So the ideas of a good driving for dollar list means you have a highly specialized list and there are signs of smoke, and wherever there's smoke, there's fire. And that the idea is If I go out and get a list of like 5,000 people in your county, and you go and drive that same county, maybe a quarter of it, and you get a list of like 300 properties that had high grass, huge maintenance issues, like really bad stuff, you massively have the upper hand on me. Now, I might have a staff, I can rip through it, but if I'm solo and independent and I'm short on money, the driving for dollars leads will always crush any type of big list you get off like PropStream or Batch or anything like that, or any of these services do it. Like, there is nothing better than it. I can't tell you how many times when we put a property on contract, I go, I've driven by this house 15 times. And I knew in the back of my mind I should have stopped and done something. So what I do is I love doing the reverse driving for dollars. Sometimes you get out. It is a lot of exercise for an older guy like me, but it's good. And you can never beat a driving for dollars list ever. You can never beat it. They are the best because somebody put their eyes on it. They see a problem with the property, and the average person would not let a house sit like that. Now, the stuff I don't waste time on driving for dollars is when people stack when a guy's got 4 RVs with no tags in his backyard, and then 4 or 5 other boats and stuff like that. If he sells that house, he's going to have nowhere to put all his junk. So they typically don't sell the property. And they definitely don't sell the wholesalers. So I like, it has to be, you've been around in life long enough to go, that is not right. What's going on with that house? So if like half the house is missing and it's boarded up, or you see it burnt into the house and it's sitting there, it's like, oh my God, you got to put that on the list. But trying to we used to put houses that had mold on the side. It was just like a waste of time in Port St. Lucie. Well, I thought I had this like extra thing. And people we're so tired of calling these houses on mold because they never stick. So you start to find out patterns. One of the secrets I found in driving for dollars is if they were missing a mail receptacle, it was like very, very good. Because think about it, if there's no mailbox, they're definitely not getting any mail. So the guys that are doing direct mail, they're never going to get a hold of this person. And listen, if you got a missing mailbox, you probably got bigger issues in your life. Now, I've had somebody run my mailbox over multiple times, but I always put it back up within a couple of weeks. Because if you don't put up a mailbox, you get a fine from the United States Postal Service. You are required to have a postal box for a valid U.S. address. Crazy as that sounds. And once you put up that mailbox, you no longer own it. It's the property of the United States Postal Service. Crazy. So as far as the effectiveness of SMS, honestly, 70%, I'd say it's closer to 85 to 90% people reject you. That's just the norm. That's it. You're just, remember, because you're just shooting off of. Now, are you doing that list based off your driving for dollars?
Yes, those all 1,100 were my driving for dollars leads.
Remember, you have no idea what their motivation is or anything. So all you can do is send them. Remember, you're just looking for the opportunity. And when the opportunity strikes and you have preparation, that's when wholesaling really works. To try to forecast what everyone's going to do, I could tell you, I think John Bon Jovi said it best. So I'm an old rocker to a point, but they used to ask him, John, when you wrote music, did you ever think one was going to be a hit over another? You know what he said? He goes, the one song I wrote that I guaranteed would hit it out of the park, I never sold a single record off of it, and it never got played. And then some of his other ones that he was just screwing around with some friends late on a Friday night or a Monday night, it wound up, and he thought it was crap, and he didn't even want to show it. It wound up being his greatest selling single album ever. So you have to take the same approach. Here's the funny thing is the properties really pick us. We don't pick them. So all you can do is create a list and fire. And if you can get 1 or 2 out of it, then great. Sometimes you get 0. I get 0 all the time, guys. I just keep going. I never let my attitude sway based on what I get on a response, because a majority of the responses are, get me off your list, F off, I don't want to deal with you anymore. And it is what it is.
Yeah,
So,
no, So I have actually mentioned this to my girlfriend all the time. I believe everything you guys say when and I think that's one of the things that's helping me push forward is that even though I've spent a tremendous amount of time, obviously not as much as you or others that have been doing this for years, or actually are in love with the business, but that's one of the things that keeps me going. It's just that I know that I want to make it a business, and even with all the no's, just keep pushing through. But I'm really hoping that what you say is very accurate. So I'm really going out on a limb, and I don't feel bad, and my spirit isn't swayed. But I just wanted to see, what you thought about that, and would you recommend I switch over from the SMS campaign to maybe just going, maybe using Mojo Dollar like you guys recommend for cold calling if we have it? Would you just suggest that instead, just go cold calling route instead of the text messaging
Well,
campaign, even though they're both valid?
they're both valid. Are you comfortable cold calling?
I'm comfortable with calling. I don't mind it.
The one thing about the Mojo, and I'll tell you, like, so I had a point, 2015 to 17. I had an entire staff, ready for this, of 12 people calling. So we had like a bullpen. And then I would train them, and towards the end, Zach spent most of the time training it. And then I had like a lead sales manager. It was a very expensive operation, but I don't recommend doing it this way because you spend a lot of money. Is you do get in a flow with Mojo because it does not allow you to waste time. So the problem is when you do it independently, you can only be so efficient. When the Mojo thing's rolling on the $3, and you don't need more than three ever. Somebody was talking about a $10 dialer the other day. I'm like, you're crazy. Like that's like cold calling on crack. It's really hard to do. So the three-line dialer allows it just creates efficiencies, and it saves you a lot of time. Yeah, you got to pay for it. It's like 100, 120 bucks, whatever it is, but it just sets up every call and it just keeps you going. And so we always did 2-hour windows. Some employees would do 3 hours, but you could see the look on their face after a certain amount of time. They're like, I got to come up for air. So but the good thing is you can get in a mode, but you really got to block off the time and you got to be disciplined about it. And it forces you to get through it. It's good for the business end because it's efficient. I don't like some of the stuff Mojo does, but that's my personal, like it hangs up on people. So the first one answers it, like puts the others through void. There's a lot of intricacies with it, but from a business owner, unbelievable, like the volume you can get through. But I've watched more people burn out cold calling because some people just aren't meant for it. Some people do it single digits, dialers, or just on their own phone, or they use triple digit. Just understanding when you get into it, a lot of people get overwhelmed when they get into dialers and they don't understand what they're getting into. So just set windows for it, because 2 hours of like Mojo dialing could be like 10 hours of you doing it on your own. It's that
Yeah,
intense.
no,
And,
and that's why I've been considering the Mojo Dollar.
yeah,
And to be honest,
but it does save you a
I,
lot of time and a lot of energy. But let me tell you, you can have the best dial in the world. If you don't have good quality lists, it doesn't matter. And I'm going to boil this down with you on this, Jason. Like the only difference between me and Zach and a lot of other wholesalers is we just believe in ourselves and we just keep doing it. We're crazy. And I can't tell you how many
yeah, I
times we've
mean,
lost deals and stuff's fallen off the shelf. And sometimes I used to look at Zach. I'm like, and sometimes that look when you look at like your girlfriend, your spouse, whatever it is, and go, the hell am I doing all this for? Like, this is crazy. And at the end of the day, if you have true conviction in the belief of why you're doing wholesaling, you just have to ride it out. Because if you consistently do it, eventually, it's not that you get lucky. It's just when opportunity meets preparation,
preparation.
it
Yeah.
works. Here's the crazy part about wholesaling is you can be in a completely different market and use the same strategy I do, and you get different results. And that's the part it's hard to go, okay, Jason, you're 100% on point. You just have to keep moving forward. And sometimes when certain things don't work and you've given it your all, you have to make some shifts to make it work. You can't just always do one thing. If it never works and you get it 3 months and you never even had a hint of an appointment or something, most likely you're doing something wrong. So
Okay.
sometimes it takes a while to figure out what the niche is for your local wholesaling market. You have to, the only way you can figure it out is apply yourself to the absolute best you can, give it everything you've got. And then you take that data and the feedback, and then you try to make adjustments to get closer to the goal. And the problem is that first few adjustments you make are the most painful because you don't quite know what you're doing. And you think the problem is most wholesalers make massive changes within a week or two. And like, I'm here to tell you, man, like it's not easy. Jason, you're in the right thing. You just got to keep plugging forward. So get the data and get the responses and then make the adjustments and then keep trying other things. And when you find something you're getting some success and traction, then push harder in that area and pull back on the stuff that's driving you crazy, costing you money and getting you nowhere. But you got to have data for it. I tell everybody when you want to do direct mail, it's a 3-month commitment. If you're not going to do 3 months, I almost guarantee you'll fail. But everybody use direct mail. After 2 weeks, they're like, oh my God, this doesn't work. I'm like, I've been doing direct mail over 20 years. Over 20 years. And I still do it today in South Florida, one of the most heavily competitive markets. And it still works for me. You know why it works? Because I do it. I don't stop. Now, I've been doing it a lot longer than you, but I'm telling you, you're going to have dry spells in here in wholesaling. The only thing you can do to fight off dry spells is do consistent action. And sometimes the actions you're doing, they just don't work. Sometimes it's not you, it's just the market conditions. And you got to understand, every 30 days, people make new decisions in real estate. I'm going to sell my house. I'm going to keep my house. I'm going to kick this renter out of my house. And all these decisions eventually wind up somehow, hopefully crossing your desk as long as you're out there actively marketing. So I don't think you're far off. I love cold calling. I think it's the fastest way to do it. I love SMS, but like here's the problem with SMS is people are getting wiser on like, I mean, the crazy thing is I signed up for a free car wash because I got tired of like reaching out the window. It's like this, you had to reach so far. So the guy goes, listen, if you do an automatic car wash, it'll just read your tag and you never have to deal with it. I go, oh my God, are you kidding me? So I do that, but now I get automated text like, and you know what the text was today? This is, I mean, brilliant marketing. You ready for this? Really good owners. They try to get feedback from all their customers. And it said on there, hey, make sure you go get your car cleaned. I'm like, well, I'm on an automatic service. What do you care if I clean my car? He wants to make sure I keep my automated payments going. And he says, Rick, remember, a clean car equals a clean mind, which means a good business and good health. I go, oh my God, I got to go get my car cleaned. Just brilliant. But like, it's annoying getting the text is what I'm saying. And everybody's doing it. So if car washes are chasing me down for text, wholesalers are chasing us down, insurance agents are chasing us down, I kind of get it. Like, so you're going to go, well, Rick, people get annoyed with calling. But remember, you're talking to a live person. If you can just get past that awkward phase, you have a shot at buying their property. Make sense?
Okay.
So
yeah, no, that it does make sense. And
just keep on it, dude. Like my first 2 years, it was a grind, man. It was tough. And I tried to quit multiple times and I go, I'm just going to keep going. And I go, if I don't get a deal in the next 3 months, and then magically I would get close to a deal, I would lose a deal. And here's the secret, guys. I just never quit. And you've got to find a way to get that personality trait, because that's the difference between people that really make it and people don't. And I'm not telling you, Jason, to sit there and drive your head in the sand and keep doing the same thing that doesn't work. But
right.
There's so many factors in wholesaling. It's hard for I'm not a guru, but coach or person you work with to say, okay, this is so all we can do is give you subtle changes. Go, hey, try this. Let's do that. Let's try this. Let's do that. And just the main thing, Lo, is if you don't quit, you can't fail. The minute you quit, it's over. Like there's nothing I can do for anybody when we do it. So
no, I've already committed. My girlfriend, she's next to me. She knows I've already committed the rest of my life in doing this. So no. And,
how old are you, Jason?
I'm 29 as of yesterday,
No,
or 2 days ago. Sorry.
you're just a baby. So I
Well,
listen, I didn't wake up till I was around like 33, and it gave me more than enough room to accomplish what I want. So just, I mean, dude, it's the journey of wholesaling. So just don't take yourself too seriously. Like it just like sometimes it seems like the world's the weight on your shoulders. It's really not. And then the opposite is when you do hit it, like don't think you're a king because anybody can knock you down at any time. So you're on the right path. Just keep doing what you're doing. I'm sure you'll make this work.
okay. Well, I really appreciate your words of wisdom, man. And I will tell you that during some very stringent times of doubt, thinking back to what you said in your previous videos, sort of reinvigorates me. And I'm sure someone else, if I feel this way, someone else feels that way. So
Yeah.
I really want to say thank you very much, man. And I will do it. Like, you've seen me several times, maybe if you remember me, but I'll
I will.
continue to do
I'll
this.
hold you accountable,
That's-
Jason.
No, for sure. Thank you very much, man.
Okay, man. See you. So, guys, I want you to understand one of the biggest things you have to understand is the attitude is I'm not quitting. Because if you have a condition to do wholesaling, you're already done. It's not going to work that way. You have to understand is if you go, well, if I don't get a deal by the end of this month, I quit. Just quit. It's like, honestly, that's like saying, listen, if I don't get first place in this track meet next Saturday, I quit. No, just get better. You know, the most amazing thing is I love the UFC. I love the whole competition of it. I love just the rawness of it. It's just, it's my personal, it's a hobby. Like I love to watch it. So I grew up watching wrestling. I wrestled in high school. I played football. I like combative sports because it's very respectful in the end and everything's for the most part pretty safe. But that's what men do. Some ladies do it too. I respect it because I think it's just the ultimate raw energy. And you got to understand when a UFC opponent gets beaten, go talk to those guys when they get beaten. You know what they say? You got a choice. You go over in that corner and cry and pout and quit, and you go take a desk job, or we just shake it off, get you cleaned up, and then we go back to training in the next day or two. And we just figure out what's wrong. I'm going to give you that aha moment, and you're going to go out there and you're going to kick people's butt. And you have to take the exact same attitude when you're doing wholesaling. And if you're going to negotiate with yourself, you're already done. Guys, 21 years. You don't think I ever had doubt in this business? It was insane the amount of doubt I had when I started out. So, you're on the right path, man. You got it. I love the UFC, man. It's to me, it's like I always told my son when he did wrestling, I go, listen, if you can handle wrestling, this is how business is. And I had no idea at the time he was going to wind up doing wholesaling with me. But we use that analogy all the time. And whenever he has a tough time, I just tell him, I go, hey, remember when that kid threw you around or did stuff like that? Just go back and remember what we did. What did we do when we got beat? We trained. And you have to do the same thing. If you get your butt kicked on a cold call and you had a lot of ums and a lot of stutterings, or you didn't know what to say, or you didn't know how to overcome the objection, go back and practice. Go in the free wholesaling and practice. That's what truly makes you the different wholesaler than everyone else. Or you can just quit. It's terrible, but like stop quitting. You know, if you stop quitting, you can actually get stuff done. And trust me, I've quit a lot of stuff in my life, but you need to quit the stuff that doesn't serve you. If it doesn't serve you and it doesn't help your family and it doesn't get you to a place you go, ask yourself why you're doing it. Most likely you're doing it because it makes you comfortable. I'm trying to do the exact opposite. I'm trying to make you wildly uncomfortable. So, Ari, what's up?
Hey, Rick, how's it going?
Good, man. What you up to?
Oh, man, you have no idea. So first off, I'm 33 years old, so I feel like we have something in common, like
There
in
you
terms
go,
of
man.
when you
Like
got started.
You started on my journey. Dude, I started out of pure frustration, man. I was just like,
Oh,
I finally said, listen, it can't get any worse than this. I went to college. I got a good job, like my dad said. And I was owned by a corporation. They reminded me every day. You guys know who I
yeah.
work for. It
Yes,
was,
I do. I use
I
them.
just, I hated it. I literally
Yeah.
hated it. And they said a study came out. I saw it last month. 70% of the United States despises the job or the person they work for. 70%. And dude, I
Wow.
was right up in there. Dude, I still have dreams about my old boss. Like, he made me do nightmare stuff. Like Michael
Yeah.
Scott on The Office would have been a dream boss compared to the boss I had. My boss was Michael Scott without the funniness inside of him. He was just an ass. So what's going on, man? What can I help you out with?
One funny thing before I get started, if you don't mind. The
Shoot.
crazy part is how I found you guys is I was actually on the Guru's Q&A, and there's a guy that came on the Q&A. I guess the guy wasn't vetted or whatever, the question, and he came on asking how come Ginn doesn't charge anything, Flip with Rig doesn't charge anything for their that was the room got wild.
What did he say?
So he said that we don't charge anything, like whatever. It was weird. It was like 3 of the top gurus. You probably know which one I'm talking about. There's 3 gurus that got on the Q&A answering questions, whatever. And there's a guy that asked, Flip with Rig doesn't charge anything. And he said, we don't charge anything. Like, there's a guy that called me, wanted to join the community. He's like, what community? Like, the guy was pretending as if, they don't have any mentorship going on. But I know, like, they've emailed me,
So
I was looking at joining there.
Is it a show on Sunday night or Monday?
Sounds about right. Yeah.
Yeah. I just listen. They're actually good people. Like, a lot of people. Oh, you like hate. I don't hate gurus at all. I really don't. I just I don't. I want you guys to understand you have choices. And when people step up and make changes, you guys get the benefit from it, and eventually everybody steps up. All of a sudden, all gurus are fading left and right wholesaling. They're the people that were like king of the castle. They're barely surviving. Like, you could just look at the amount of people that sub to their material. You can see they don't post videos, and they'll go, well, it's too inconvenient and stuff. Me and Zach did the 30-day challenge, which we're doing in June right now. So if you don't know about it, go to flipwithrick.com.
Yeah, I do.
We recorded 30 brand new videos, just like you're nut, and people like, you're nuts for doing that. I go, and they like, just recycle all your old stuff. I'm like, I'll do it. I don't do the speaking tours. I don't do any of this stuff, because what you guys got to understand is it's all pay for play. You have to scratch his back for him to scratch yours, and it never stops. And at the end, it's so ridiculous. I value my time so much more. I'm just going to sit there and peddle all that stuff. So for the first time, you guys check it out on Flip with Rick Plus. If you want to join, it's not a requirement. We just do it. All you have to do is JV deal with us, or we have a small nominal fee. And me and Zach, October 19th, 20th, for the first time ever, we're sitting in front of a crowd, and we're going to do it in Stuart, Florida. And it's going to be amazing. And we don't bring guest speakers because I got nothing to sell. I have absolutely nothing to sell, and we include it. We make it all free. You just got to pay to get here, and it's a freaking blast. And everyone's like, "Can we speak at your event?" I go, "No." I go, I don't let people come and like con my, like. So the word free, everyone like puts me. What do you think free is? I go, well, I tell you what. A huge guru challenged me and said, well, the free stuff's been out there forever. I go, well, let me see your free stuff. Why I can't show it? I'm like, of course you can't show it. Me and Zach for 3 years did nothing but give out free content. And we did it by design. You know why? Because I just put the whole thing out there, and I've never taken anything away from freewholesaling.com. In fact, I just keep adding to it. So we offer a Flip with Rick Plus service. It is never a requirement. And I've told you guys, it's just because I only have so much time in the day. I get 300 DMs every other day. Like, I can't just keep paying everyone to do this. So the people that need extra time, we put it out there, but it's not a coaching program. I don't believe in that, because the secret to coaching, ready for this? It's you guys. If you take the action, you'll make any guru look like a hero. And you know what the funny part is? They all take credit for you guys' success. It's a joke. If you called 5,000 people and you put a contract together, you did it. I just gave you the content. I just gave you the instructions on how to do it. And it's so funny, dude. But anyways, I appreciate it. But it's I'm always going to do what I do, because you know what they all said to me, including those guys. You know what they said? It'll never work what you and Zach are doing. It'll never work. I go, okay, well, you test me, watch me. And so you know what their biggest obstacle is in their sales right now? It's Flip with Rick. They're like, the guy does it for free. Why would I pay you $5 or $7 grand? And they're like, oh, you don't understand. So anyways, enough of that, man. What can I help you out with?
Yeah. Okay, so finding boots on the ground. I'm going virtual. I'm in New York City.
Okay.
How do we go about, like, I couldn't find any real way to get, boots on the ground, like somebody that I can rely on, like walking a buyer through a seller's house, trying to arrange the
So,
I
so
mean,
here's the first thing. Obviously, you're not doing the market in New York City.
right.
Are you in a market you're familiar with? Did you ever live there? Do you have friends there, family? What's going
So
on there?
so just today I found this market that I have a friend of mine, his son moved to that part of the
Okay.
into that state. So that could be pretty cool. Um, so so I'm thinking of shifting markets, obviously,
Yeah.
based on that.
So the first thing you have to define is what is your boots on the ground going to do for you, and you have to clearly define it. And there's only really two layers. Okay. The first layer is someone who drives by a property and just takes pictures to see if you actually have a deal. You will get deals all the time, and then you like get there and the thing needs 100 grand worth of work. You're like, crap, it's not a deal anymore. That's the number one person. The easiest person to find is like an ex-realtor, maybe a BPO person, or a simple photographer that's okay taking pictures. And basically, you give them an address, they take pictures. If you need to get access on the inside of the house, their only job is just to take pictures and be polite. That's it. That usually pays 50, maybe $70, depending on what market you're in. And they provide you, they're just there to verify the deal. Hopefully you can use those pictures to help out with some marketing stuff. But remember, you have to sell the contract and not the property. The next
Hmm.
layer is the person that's actually going to help you get a contract signed or help you walk through cash buyers. Much more complicated person. Now, you do not want to use another wholesaler from that because they'll typically try to steal your deal or
Hmm.
they're going to be your major competition. Sometimes realtors will actually help you out with that because they're licensed. It actually works out well for you, but you need to find a realtor that's not good at being a realtor, but they like to talk to people. And if you can find that person, that's great. That person usually gets a nice spiff when your deal closes. And what's the number going to be? Anywhere from $200 up to $1,000. Now, why you can do a realtor? Because you can actually pay them a commission legally off that deal. If you're going to use any other person, it just has to be considered a marketing fee. Two extremely different types of people. And I'm just going to tell you, you're going to have to use the tried and true ways like Facebook, use some of the groups. Craigslist is a scary place today, but unfortunately, it is the necessary evil to find these types of people. Word of mouth is always one of the best ways, but the second one has to be someone that either or someone that has to just demonstrate talent at times. Or a lot of times, the latter of the people I just explained used to be the photographer, and they're like, "No, I can talk to people for you." You're going to go through a lot of people when you do it, though. I'm just kind of letting you know. There's just no way around it. So, and then when you find a good one, just take care of them and just keep working through it. But usually, you have two distinct people. A lot of times, if you get the right person, they'll gladly do both for you. But the biggest challenge is always having them walk through your cash buyers through the property or getting the seller to sign an agreement. Usually they have to answer 3 or 4 questions and just help you get through it. And a lot of times they'll put me on speakerphone and I'll walk them through it. So I have a market where I have to use a translator because they only speak Spanish there. And that person walks me through it and they're very good. And they develop a lot of trust. So does that make sense understanding the two different divisions of the boots on the ground?
Yeah. So first somebody just getting pictures, and then another person just to do the actual showing, which $200 to $1,000, depending
Yeah.
on the whatever
Yeah, it
something.
just depends. Like it depends on what market you're in. Some of the small markets, they just want to get paid, but you got to take care of me because they're going to run. If you don't, they'll run you under the bus because if you find someone like that, they're extremely valuable. But you deal with, people like they want to go out and open up their own business and do exactly what you do. It is what it is. I don't get hurt by it when they do it, but try to find the person that will drive by and kind of take pictures and then help you maybe have a basic conversation with the seller. And then so you can get them gift cards, you can Venmo them money. I mean, society's easier than ever to pay people to do that. Remember, that saves you a plane ticket, saves you a lot of aggravation. And the biggest thing is you need to know if the property description matches up to what the seller told you. And until you get past that, you don't know if you have a deal virtually. Me and Zach have to deal with this challenge all the time. The sooner you can verify the property, the better you can run your business. So start with that person first,
Mhm.
and then see if they demonstrate the level of trust, and then you can move them up the ladder if you want to do that. It'd be great if you get one person to do everything.
Yeah.
But that second person is much harder to find. And so if you get a contract like tomorrow, you need to know if you have a deal. You need someone to go out and put eyes on it. That's the best way to do it.
So basically, every time I send them out, I just pay them a set amount or whatever, like an hourly thing.
I think that's the cost of doing business.
That's the cost of doing business.
I can't tell you how many times I put it under contract, and then the guy gets there and he's like, "There's like no house here." I'm like, "What are you kidding me?" It's like,
ouch.
You have to do that part of the business. You have to have somebody put eyes on it. And I know a lot of you guys think you can look at like satellite photo and stuff like that. Absolutely not. I'm sorry. So get creative. You find college students. Everybody's got a app on their phone to take a picture. It's really not that complicated. $50, maybe 70 is the most I've ever paid to get basic pictures. And if you have a nice seller, have them knock on the door and take interior pictures. If not, you got to get somebody in there to help you out to look at the inside. Or keep in mind, if you got a really cooperative seller, you can have them take the pictures for you. But they're not always the best picture takers. And you don't always, and they tend not to take pictures of the most problematic areas of the house. So
of course not.
so, make sense?
Yeah. And how does it work? So I guess obviously, how do I recoup that, the cost, or somehow that's, I guess part of the hit that I take, as opposed to I can't pass it on to the buyer.
If you make 10 or 20 grand, like you can absorb $50 here and there. Like it's not that big of a deal.
Right. Okay.
And listen, if you're tying in the person the success of your deal, which you're not supposed to legally do unless they have a license, you can only do that. So if 2 or 3 deals fall through, they're going to leave you pretty quick. So sometimes you got to give them $100 here and there to keep them. Sometimes deals just fall apart for no reasons that you did or your boots on the ground did, and just make sure you take care of them. But for the most part, you gotta have eyes in these virtual markets until you really get it dialed in, because they'll always give you surprises. And the problem is if you don't put eyes on it, you start sending cash buyers by and you're wasting all this. It's going to cost you a lot more than $50 or $70.
Right.
It's going to cost you weeks, if not months, of aggravation and just annoyance. So just get it over with. Someone's got to look at the property. If you have a family member or someone, a loved one in the area, it's even better because they can help you. And that's a person you can count on, and what they see is like word. And once they take pictures, because I've had sellers send me pictures and then I send somebody out there to look at it, night and day. I'm like, did you really think I was going to fall for that? And I want you to understand this too. When they go and get pictures, you can most likely, if it's in much worse shape, you can usually negotiate the heck out of the price. So that $50 winds up being an investment for you. Maybe you knock $5,000 off of it and you pay the guy $50 to take the pictures. You have to do it. It works. It will work out more times than often. In worst case scenario, they verify you have a great property.
I was just concerned that if I send out, let's say this person, let's say one time to take pictures, the next time to, let's say, get a contract signed, and then to walk through sellers, that could add up to, and let's say if I need to work through a couple deals before some deal sticks, then it could ultimately, lose the whole profit if there is, I don't know.
Well, that's
the cost of business.
Part of virtual. And that's why I tell people it takes 2 to 3 months to really get your virtual operation off the ground and get it profitable, because it takes time. But you get think about any business. What business could buy houses sight unseen and nobody ever looks at it?
Right.
You're going to get burnt sooner or later, and you can't afford to do that. Plus, I don't want you getting stuck with a contract that you can't make stick because they didn't represent the property for what it was. So just start with the basics and just keep moving forward. And they're not all going to work out, and be prepared for it. And then, and by the way, you never pay them until you get the pictures, ever. They're like, pay me in advance. You will never see them again.
Can I ask you one other question?
Shoot.
How does it work with cash buyers wanting to do an inspection on the, let's say, foundation?
So listen, when you get good wholesale deals, they come in, they look at the property, they verify the asset to the contract. a good cash buyer will not beat you up on inspections, period. Like,
No, like when I buy a house, I was looking at buying whatever in the past,
uh-huh.
and I always wanted to get an inspection on a foundational issues that perhaps
So
I
you're
would
talking
not be able
about
to
when you
see.
put a property under contract, correct?
Right, like I'm
Yeah.
looking on the in their perspective, basically,
Yeah.
like would they buy a house without getting an inspection on the foundation?
Well, it's not even the foundation, it's just usually the whole property.
The
So
whole property
my
altogether, yeah.
recommendation is get the strongest inspection thing you can when you buy a property,
Hmm.
because you never know. Like buyers, I mean, buyers lie, sellers lie, everybody lies. So
Hmm.
we're not all experts on it, but like I'm just going to tell you, if you get a good wholesale deal, you don't have to go get a professional inspection company. If you're buying at a deep discount, do you really care if there's a crack in the drywall? You just want to make sure the foundation is solid and the roof and the walls are solid and the electrical system and the HVAC, however it is. How you want to do that, sometimes people bring in GCs, but for the most part, remember, you're selling your contract. So if you left a big enough discount, the cash buyer can deal with the little glitches that come with the property. Now, things I watch for when I see big stains in the roof, when doors won't open, and I see huge cracks in place on me, that's huge red flag stuff. And when I see that, I'll go into a 60 or 90-day inspection period, because I got to get some big professionals out there to figure it out. Here's the best part is I'm not doing the inspections. I let my cash buyers do it. When it's major, and by the way, whenever I have a major foundation issue, I never buy them. They're too much of a mess to fix. They're just way too costly. Hundreds of thousands of dollars a lot of times. So
Right.
you're
Okay.
getting a deep enough discount, you should be able to look. You want to know if you have a bad roof, you can see when it was built bad. And then if you can't open doors, you got problems. I don't care where you are in the United States. If a door doesn't open freely, take a second look and start looking for cracks all around the door. That means the house is settling, sinking, leaning. I just saw a deal in San Francisco. A building is leaning 26 inches to the left, and they spent like $19 million trying to put rods to compensate it for it. And I saw a report the other day, they moved another 4 inches. Major, major downtown building. I'm just like, guys, once the foundation goes bad, it usually never gets better. And it's from the stuff I've seen. I've been offered properties 20 cents on the dollar on foundation. And my guy goes, you'll go broke trying to fix this property. I'm like, never mind. I don't touch foundation stuff. So what's the rule? If you can stick a quarter in it, you might have an issue, a major issue. So we have settling stress cracks in the center roof lines of all Florida properties. Like that stuff doesn't freak me out. So you find out what the norm is in your market. And then when there's something crazy and it sticks out, put the house under contract, but go, listen, I'm going to need a 2 to 3 month inspection period because something ain't right with that house. And I got to find out what it is. And a lot of times they're like, well, they'll tell you, go, yeah, the last 3 contracts fell out. I'm like, dude, just tell me the truth. What's going on with the house? And remember, if it's a big enough problem where nobody else could fix, heed the warning. I don't want you to enter into contracts and like have foundation issues are a no-go for me in wholesaling. 20, 30 cents on the dollar if you don't buy it that, because it's going to take a lot of money to fix that foundation. So make sense?
Yes, sir.
You got it, Ari. Just start with the basics on getting the boots on the ground and don't worry about worst case scenario. Just try to get a standard inspection. The minimum you should always get is minimum is 2 weeks. And honestly, that's tight when you start in this business. I tell everyone to go for 30 days. And in a perfect world, you get 90 days, but most sellers won't go for it.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yep.
Okay.
Thank
bud.
you so much, Rick. I appreciate your time.
I appreciate it. Man. See you. Okay. So guys, if you are new, I want you to go over to freewholesaling.com. I've got it scrolling across the bottom. 100% free course, get you started in wholesaling. Not only get you your first deal, get you to your first 100 grand. And those of you that want to spend a little bit more time with me, Zach, check us out on the Flip with Rick Plus. It's scrolling on the bottom there. You can always connect with us. This is my YouTube channel, Rick Ginn. You can connect with my son at Zach Ginn YouTube channel. And as usual, we always collaborate on the Flip with Rick channel. Check us out there. And guys, listen, if you got value from this video, do me a favor. Make sure you smash that like button. And as usual, make sure you subscribe to this channel. I release never before content on the Rick Ginn channel because you guys subscribe to it. I appreciate you guys. Have a good one. And I will see you tomorrow. See you guys.